This movement seeks to empower people to stand up for our sacred values, our citizen rights, and constitutional freedoms that were inked on that piece of paper by our forefathers.
Shining a light on the darkness of today's challenges. This is the Lantern Podcast.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Lantern Podcast. And as we always do, we try and touch base with people and businesses and how they've been affected throughout this pandemic. And today we have with us Toby Buechner, who owns Troy Gymnastics. It's great to have you here with us.
Ron, thanks for having me.
Why don't you just start by telling us a little bit of your background in how exactly Troy Gymnastics was started and where it was before all this happened.
Yeah. 15 years ago, my daughters were 7, 5, and 2. My wife didn't like the gymnastics opportunities, the options in the Troy area. She came up with an idea we should start a gym. She was joking, but we'd never done it before. We both love kids. We both love sports. We saw a need, and we went after it. We created a gym from the ground up. We had double-digit growth for pretty much all 14 years. We started simple and grew, and just found a place for kids to play, have fun, be safe. Started hiring people and grew it to 160 staff recently. And
160.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the all that the gym had to offer, and it's a little bit of space and so on.
We started with gymnastics instruction, got into tumbling, birthday parties, camps, kept growing, went into ninja, which is significant. We built ropes courses. We've created a daycare and preschool. So we started to try to diversify the business, and it's continued to grow. And we're working on a swim pool right now. I just created that. The water's going in the pool today, but really? I started about a year ago, so this was before Corona, and now it's getting more interesting.
Okay, so 160 staff. So you're doing well, and about what, March 15th, somewhere right around
right
there,
on.
right?
Right on.
And what was your thought process when that first happened? How did you relate to this, both with your clientele and your staff? And what process did you start out with? And tell us a little bit about that process over this last bit.
Well, we knew the virus was coming. We knew there were some issues. There were some people saying we needed to make change. And then the governor's order came out and said we need to stop. And so we did. And we thought it was short term. Recently found an email from mid-April, a month later, saying, boy, it's been a long time, but we're ready to go. We've done our studying on how we can relaunch and do it safely. 4 more months more later, we're still not going, and it's frustrating. It's challenging.
So again, let's talk about how it has affected you and your family, but also how is your relationship with your staff been through the whole process? What have you done to get through, or what have they done, and how have you stayed in contact with them?
We had to furlough most everybody from the start. Kept a few people on to help me with bare bones things. We're friends. We work with children for a living, known them for a long time. So we've talked a lot on the phone. We've met at times when you can. Tried to keep in touch through different ways of communicating, just to see how everybody's doing. A couple of my directors had parents die and they couldn't bury them, which is probably the toughest part of what I think is going on here. We're doing our best to try to stay in touch with one another and be friends and figure things out. We've been looking at best practices of how to open and spend a lot of time on that. I have a lot of expertise with people that work for me that are trying to figure that out as well.
So let's talk about what you have noticed in other states in areas that it's my understanding that most, if not almost all other states have gyms that are reopened again. Yours is unique in that it's not just a gym. So talk about what you've done through that process, or what you've learned of what has been successful, and how maybe you shared that with leaders in this state to try and get yourselves opened up again.
One of the things I've always said is you don't want to be first out of 50 states or last out of 50 states, but I'm hearing from good sources that we are the only state that doesn't have gymnastics open. That's not a good thing. How come every other state is open? I've got friends in other states. They've done it safely. They haven't had issues. They need the revenue to keep going. We've tried to reach out to everybody we can to try to get the word out there. Just recently I've heard in our area back in Oakland County that we're kind of forgotten. It feels like a lot of the economy is up and running, but the fitness end is not. And it's really a trial.
And when you say it's a trial, and you talk about fitness, one of the things that we've heard over and over again is when you're limited in what you can do, maybe in your work, maybe in activity, healthy and wellness has got to be one important thing. And also, I'm sure that you could talk a little bit about how fitness, whether it's gymnastics or some of the other things you offer, how it helps the mental side. And because people, and kids especially, let's talk about the focus, because you mentioned kids, but I think you're focused on kids at your place. So how has it affected them? What are you hearing from the parents?
Our motto is where kids come first. So this is about children, and we love being around kids and have the ability to work with little ones, literally infants up through high school. It's what we do for a living. In the world we're in with obesity and challenges and websites and bullying, we're a safe space for kids to play and learn a sport and have fun and stay in shape and meet lifelong friends. And I don't take that lightly. I think that's a wonderful thing to be able to do. And most of us in our lives as we've grown up, we had something we did. It was part of us, and whether it's not a sport or something else, to not have that and not be able to do it as a staff member, as a parent, but most importantly as a kid, it's hard. I mean, they don't understand it. They just want to play. They want to be with their friends. They want to do a sport that they love, and the governor's not allowing us to do that.
And the stats and the science that we've heard again is that kids simply, it's very rare for children to get the virus, number one. We're finding from overseas, as well as what we've seen in other parts of the country, that kids who get it are asymptomatic and don't give it to other kids. So we should have, in some ways, don't you believe, done more for the young people during this time, even if we were protecting the vulnerable? Is that kind of where you sit?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, we want to go with the science. We want to be careful. Safety is the whole thing ever since I started my business. This is getting into a new round of safety, but our sport, I have 120,000 square feet of space. Most gyms are big. We have a lot of space. For balance beams are 6 feet apart. Bars are over 6 feet apart. The foam floors are big. I mean, we have the ability to socially distance. Ironically, I was able to open my daycare and preschool legally because it was deemed essential. And 10 weeks ago, we've learned a lot of laughter, a lot of fun. Kids, no problems, knock on wood, praise the Lord. But we've learned it, and the kids are out playing. And why can't I do it in gymnastics? It's the same thing.
It is, and one is considered essential. And that brings me to the other thing that I wanted to talk about, and that is what is deemed essential, and how is it that certain things are allowed, even when it comes to factories. You can be in a factory and do it safely, and you're certainly closer or as close as you are in a gym. Have you heard anything, or have you asked the question, or had any feedback from anyone to be able to say to you what common sense has been used in this process?
Well, you mentioned common sense, and I always say that's not that common. But ironically, for 16 years before this, I was in automotive, so I have plenty of friends in the automotive industry. Love that. It's a big part of our whole southeastern Michigan, obviously. And it's not up to me to figure out what's essential or not, building vehicles or having essential workers that can have their kids in a daycare. But the kids need to be playing as well and working out in a sport, because the fitness aspect is just a big part of life, and stress relief, anxiety relief. We're trying to provide options, and we hope that we're able to provide some more soon.
And we often talk about the virus, and we get into the socialization. We talked about wellness, but the one thing that I think in Michigan especially that we've kind of left out has been the economic side. So talk to us a little bit about the economic impact that this has had, not only on you individually, but give us an example of how you were able to interact with your community over the years, and how this has basically affected your ability to do so during this time.
So economic impact, we're approaching $2 million of lost revenue. That's a big number. It's been between $100,000 and $150,000 a month of costs that I can't not pay. There's the essential costs. I was blessed to get 3 months deferral on my loans. That's wonderful. 2 months ago, those went away, and that number went up. I don't know many people out there that have $150,000 a month just laying around, because that's hard. And getting into the economic side of how we've helped, I've employed a lot of people. We're approaching $40 million that I've spent my wife and I have spent in southeastern Michigan on my business in just under 15 years. That's a significant number. I've paid just over $6 million in taxes. That's a significant number. 59% of my costs went to my staff. I mean, everybody likes small business. I'm one example. I'll share those numbers with you. I mean, that it's working. I mean, it helps the economy. It helps staff. I'm hiring directors. I'm hiring young kids. I've hired a lot of people, and they've had a lot of fun with it. And I'm not able to hire them right now, and I've got some people mad at me.
Well, obviously it's not because of you, but I would like to find out and ask you if you'd be willing to just look into the camera and talk for a minute or two to the governor. Just talk with her and just let her know your feelings and let her know what it is you're going through. And if you have to ask her a question, fine. But I think it's important for her, people of her staff or people, to hear from business owners, because I think so often in Lansing they're stuck. So if you just say a few words to her or what you'd have to say to her if she was sitting in the room, that would be a perfect time for you to do that.
Well, I've never been in politics, and I don't know that I ever will be. But I know it's a tough job. I know it's hard to bundle and make big decisions on a wonderful state that we live in and that I was born in. I hope we look at the big picture. I watch other businesses open. I watch PPP loans out there for companies that didn't need it, and they're wonderfully taking it. Those of us that did need it, I can't even use it because I don't have staff employed. It's an implosion. I've heard between 6 and 10% of us are just dying. You got small businesses going under. You've got bankruptcies. We're the backbone of the economy with small businesses. I've proven that from what I've said, but you know that. We can't just let these companies crumble. Another gym went under yesterday. Another gym went under last week. They're competitors of mine and they're friends of mine, and I'm sad for them. Dance studios are going under. Fitness places are going under. It's an essential part of the world. We all need stress relief. We all need fitness. We all need our kids to be safe and happy. Do we want them at home and have... we know that there can be bad things. I played sports all my life. It's fun to be busy. It's fun to be active and build muscle and build confidence. It's an essential part of our community, and I hope you give us a chance to open because we can do it safely.
That's the one thing that we've heard from business after business is I believe we as Americans have every ability to do things and do them safely. We can do more things at once. What you've created in this 15 years and your expansion of what you've offered to meet the challenges and the needs was done without a government telling you could or couldn't do it, or how you could do it, or if it would be successful, and yet you found a way. And yet to say that you can't clean an area or protect the people that are there, or that they can't protect themselves as they're there, just doesn't make sense. And as you said, doesn't make a lot of sense. So the one thing I know that you had also discussed is you've done a lot of contributing over the years to your local economy, giving back. And I'd want to talk a little bit about that, because another thing I think that is going to be a trailing end of all of this is how businesses and individuals have helped support organizations around them and have not been able to do that at all at this point, and how in the world that money's ever going to come back to fill that hole again. So share some of the things you've supported over the years and some of those areas that you can't any longer.
Well, I think charities are very essential. I think it's a big part of life. I think the responsibility of business owners to do that. I've tried to bear that burden before this, and we all have talents. There's certain people that have talent. I can't sing and I can't do some of those things, but I'm actually building houses in Detroit this weekend. I've tried to donate my time and my money and my muscle. I've been to Katrina twice when that happened. Big in my church. I like to help out with those things. Food kitchens. My kids have been involved, my wife. We've done church camps. I think it's important in life, and I think it's a great experience for children and everybody to give back. I'm financially in a spot right now where I had to cut all of that out. I've donated to dozens, if not hundreds, of different charities, most all of them in southeastern Michigan. And that number right now is 0, because not only am I not making any money, I'm losing 6 figures monthly. So, and I was given for a while because it's the right thing to do, but I can't have that money that I don't have and use it for it. And I'm not the only business that's there. So it's a shame because you've got these wonderful charities out there, and they're going to be hurting as well. And we're all familiar with the ripple effect. That ripple effect's going on, and whether it's charities or jobs or the economy or taxes, it's catching up to most every human one way or another.
So what is the latest you've heard on the gyms? Have we had any positive news in the last week or two, or any changes at all from the legislature or from the governor, I should say, in her executive orders in regard to gyms?
Blessed to have a lot of people in my life. I get articles sent to me. The moment they come on, I get them, and I read them because there's not much else for me going on. Recently, she said she's looking into this. We're thinking about the forgotten, is what they keep saying. There are gym owners that are opening and doing it blatantly and saying, hey, I'm opening, and you can't stop me. I don't want to be belligerent. I want to be ethical. I want to do it right. We're going to be safe. But gosh, she's got to give us the ability to keep going. She says that there's another announcement coming this week. I'm praying that she gives us the ability to start. Like you said, this is America, and the demand's out there, and it's a free country, and we have the ability to do what we want. My biggest issue on all this is we all have the ability. If we don't want to go to the gym, you don't go. If you want to go to church, you can. If you don't want to go to school, you have that option. But give us the ability to open. Give us the ability to. We've done our surveys. 30% of my customers, 20 to 30% want to come back, and I proved it with the daycare. And as I've proved that it's gone safely, that number has steadily increased, and safely and slowly staggered and sanitized. Those are my 4 S's. We can do this the right way. Give us the ability to launch. I was in automotive for a while. Who do you want building cars? Because I want GM and Ford building cars, not DC. I want the experts in the world, whether it's a construction company. Those guys know what they're doing. I know gymnastics. I've been doing it for a while. Please let me launch, and my customers will help me do it the right way to keep the demand going in a nice and slow and get there.
So you heard what Toby's saying here, and you heard him say, please let us. You see, that's the problem, is that it's not her job to let us do anything. We are supposed to have individual rights. We're supposed to have our sacred rights and our own personal constitutional freedoms. Those have been taken away during this time. And for those of you that aren't in his position, those of you that aren't a small business owner, you have to understand that it is vital that we take back this freedom. It's important that we unlock Michigan. It's important we repeal that law and make sure that no governor in the future has the ability to make business owners who are successful and take care of children, for gosh sakes, have to beg and say, please allow me to do what it is that I've done for the last 14 years. That should not be up to a governor or an individual as a whole. And the legislature, as you know, has no say here. So in closing, what else would you have to add?
It's just interesting talking to normal people, which I do for a living, and I'll talk to them, and they'll say, we're down, my business is down 5%. My spouse got a 10% pay cut. And I say, can you imagine not only being at 0% for 5 months, over 5 months, negative 0%? And I watch all their faces, and they go, wow, that's got to be hard. Well, that's what we're going through right now, and it's incredibly painful.
It is indeed, and I appreciate you coming in and telling your story. It's important for all of you to be able to recognize and identify with the struggling businesses. And as you've heard, the businesses that are closing every single week and every single month that this has drug on, and that simply isn't going to come back quickly or easily. And we know that we're in for a struggle here. We can understand a virus, but again, the virus cannot be worse. And the solution can't be worse than the virus. And right now, that's kind of where what we've faced here with small business in Michigan and around the country. But Michigan has been hit in a different way, and we have to stand up together. We have to work together. And I thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And this has been an edition of the Lantern Podcast. We're going to shine the light in the darkness of today's challenges. And until next time, stand up, Michigan.